Hi, I'm Mark Albrecht. I'm a graduate master's degree in strategic leadership from Walsh College in 2011. After I graduated, I joined the foundation board. I've been on the foundation board for 8 years. I'm a senior HR executive, and I've been doing human resources for my entire career. And I live in Rochester, Michigan, and I'm looking forward to helping today. The reason I picked Walsh goes back to earlier in my career. I worked for the largest distributor of music, CD music in the world, Handelman Company, and we were shutting down the company because of people didn't purchase CDs anymore. And I was always familiar with Walsh. I felt that if I was going to re-engage my career, having a master's degree from a business college like Walsh would be advantageous. So I went to one of those famous walk-in Wednesdays and got information on the college, and remarkably started my master's degree program the next Thursday night with my first class. I picked Walsh because of the reputation of Walsh. I picked Walsh because I know that the graduates of Walsh stay in the Michigan market and are in leadership roles. So I knew that the cohorts I would meet during my program would be people that I'd be interacting with in my career, wherever that my career is going to lead me. And that has been the case since that day in 2008 when I enrolled at Walsh College for my master's degree. The Walsh degree has helped me tremendously. My degree from Michigan State was in human resources and psychology. And I felt that the Walsh degree from a business school, as a human resources executive, you tend to be more in the people side of the business. And I felt that having a business degree to augment my prior education at Michigan State, along with my experience, would help me. And since I was working for a global company and have worked for other global companies, having a master's degree in strategic leadership allowed me to sort of broaden my horizons. It definitely helped me in my career when I was looking for a job after Handelman shut down, and has helped me since then. What I liked best about the online virtual classes, I wasn't in a typical 100% online class, but I was in what were called hybrid classes, where we would meet occasionally, but much of the learning was online. What I felt was good, ironically, was that you got to speak more to people, even though you weren't in class, through the online classes, through the chats, through the commenting in each other's reports and so forth. So I learned a lot from that experience. My favorite class at Walsh, ironically, was a class on communications. You would think that, already 20 some years into my career, that would be something that I would be, good at, proficient at, and able to do that. And it really shined a different light on what communications were all about: business communications, how to write communications to employees, inter-office communications, both verbal, nonverbal communications. We had to do 2 or 3 presentations as part of that class. One was a large research project that we then had to present to the class. Others were presentations we did with groups. And it really turned out to be that I came out of that class learning quite a bit. We even had a part of the class was talking about cultural differences between, different nationalities or nations. So at that time, we were interacting with employees and leaders in different countries, and knowing some of the customs before I traveled there or had to interact with those employees or leaders was very, very helpful because of this communications class. It really broadened my knowledge in that area tremendously. I had a lot of hesitations about going back to school. To be quite frank, I was very hesitant and scared. Here I was 20 some years later after getting my degree at Michigan State going, wow, I'm going to be, really have to catch up with some of these other students. I was not your typical student. I was a little bit older than the other students in the class. And that was a good fear. So sort of like that nervousness you have before you're giving a speech or having to make a presentation. But once I got into class and I worked with my fellow students and cohorts, that quickly evaporated after a few days in class. What I found was that everybody else in school had that same nervousness of going back to school. We worked together. People came from different walks of life. People were from different industries. I learned so much from them, as well as the professors at Walsh, who are amazing. And it was great because those people, including professors, are still my friends these days, after I've gotten my degree. So that nervousness quickly evaporated, and I considered it a normal response to starting a big life challenge that I did. But I'm equally proud that I got my degree and have it now in my you know as part of my career and as part of my accomplishments in life. Having raised two daughters, I've always said, the school finds the candidate or the student. And I think if you're going to go back to school, you would look at us, do the same analysis that I did. When I was going back to get my master's degree, I wanted a master's degree from a school that mattered, that when you saw it on your resume, it popped. And Walsh is a business school, so it mattered. That when people see you have a degree from Walsh, whether it's a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, what have you, they know that you've worked hard. They also know that you've probably been working while going back to school. So my recommendation for people who are going back to schools is do your research, talk to the advisors, look at the programs. The program will find you also. Find the niche that will really help augment your career. I didn't know much about the Strategic Leadership Master's Program when I went there, but it was a life changer for me in terms of my career, and I would recommend not only Walsh, but doing your due diligence before going back to school. A student graduating now and joining the workforce, obviously we're in a pandemic right now, but companies are still hiring. How we hire has changed. We're doing more virtual interviews and interactions. But somebody graduating right now, you've developed skills by going to class virtually that are going to be used in the workforce. You're developed skills that are going to be needed going forward as we get through this pandemic. So use the people that you've met at school. Use those relationships. Somebody graduating from school right now, you should update your LinkedIn profile if you don't already have one to show that you have a degree. You should connect with the people that you went to school with, the professors you met, build your group and build your area so that people know who you are and people are know about your background and what you're doing. So it's up to you to make those relationships happen. It's up to you to nurture those relationships, and those are the relationships that are going to help you find a job. You're gonna talk to people, and they're going to say, "Wait, I know somebody, or I know a company. Well, you should talk about this." And the more you get your message out there, the better your chances of finding employment quickly. The most rewarding part of having my Walsh degree, really, there's a lot of answers to that. One is the relationship I have with the college. I'm now on the foundation board. I was so impressed by how Walsh treated me as a student that I wanted to also give back as a foundation board member. Secondly, is that the people I've met at Walsh continue to be people I want in my circle. These are people that I went to school with, went through classes with, um, went through presentations together. So these are people that I want in my network. Third is that, the thing about Walsh is that, again, it's the reputation of the Walsh degree. As I mentioned earlier, I could have had a master's degree, done an online master's degree. There's a lot of those colleges, out there nationwide. But to me, that was not as impressive of having one from a business school, a well-respected business school that's been around, that has leaders. I've always been impressed by the fact that, I don't know the exact number, but I think over 80 some percent of Walsh graduates stay in the Michigan market. And I believe in paying it forward and having people stay in Michigan who've risen up, to become leaders of industries and companies and markets. is important. And you see Walsh leaders, not only in Michigan, throughout the United States. So I think, having this Walsh degree has really helped me in my professional life. I absolutely, my career aspirations, my personal relationships, and just how I feel about myself.